Let's now sum up the topic of critical discourse analysis and race. We can say that race and racism are two important ideas, constructs, or academic tools to analyze various manipulative and exploitative discourses in multiple or multi-natured human societies. And they can help into, they can provide an important intervention to look into how various discursive practices create or recreate inequalities in a society. They can also help us in looking into both institutional and everyday discourse, and we can find how people deliberately and sometimes maybe indirectly index certain human groups in certain ways based on their own ideologies, which may hurt uh, or declare others uh, as others. So that means this may result into exclusion of certain groups from a society. This exclusion may be metaphorical or ideological, but this can be powerful for their future interests. Some of these tools may include essentializing discursive moves to manipulate discourse. The journal talks in a way that essentialize certain ideas as true while declaring others may be openly or indirectly wrong. That means believing in the superiority of our beliefs that might marginalize others. Then we have a strategic use of narratives. Narratives about maybe about history, about cultural norms are used in a way that might support certain group. I mean, a certain event in history might be picked to be glorified, while others, which may be equally important, might be ignored. That's what we call selection of narratives. Then there can be us and them polarization, may be clear or unclear or indirect polarizations between various groups in a society. That may be one way to create and promote racist discourses. On the other hand, we can see that the covert or hidden forms of racial discrimination tend to remain unscrutinized or unchecked, and therefore they normalize certain ideological framework, maybe as right for some people. So the very sad or negative aspects of such discourses are covered by putting them in some sophisticated in hidden terms. The studies recently have reviewed about this issue in critical discourse analysis, have reviewed and advanced knowledge about the relationship between race and various racist ideologies and the ways these ideologies are promoted through certain discursive practices. So these studies leads us to think that race and racism are reciprocal. When we believe in racism, we believe in race, and then we need to check our thoughts when we are followed by these things. So and these both are used to naturalize each other, to make each other look quite natural, because when we are too proud of our race and we talk always in exaggerated terms about it, we somehow maybe indirectly are promoting racism in one way or the other. In this sense, a critical culture approach to discourse studies can be very useful to highlight such and to bring forward such hidden agendas in various manipulative racist discourses. And such a task based on critical cultural studies, in other words, in critical discourse studies, may be based on four main goals. First of all, they should identify the specific keywords and practices which are used to create racist impressions about certain groups or to exclude certain groups from the larger community. The first task is to identify those words, phrases, or practices which are used repeatedly by certain groups or institutions. Then to analyze and interpret how they function as enablers and normalizers of certain kind of manipulative race-based discourses. So what strategies are used to normalize the negative propaganda or othering of certain groups in a society. That's very important because these strategies can be sophisticated and most of us might not know them in ordinary ways. We might need to analyze them in detail in order to reach their real purpose. Then, to explain the conditions of possibility in which these ideas, these thoughts, these words, these normalizers can prosper. So we need to look into possible socio-cultural political conditions and possibilities in which they may get their life, and to document and propose ways in which they can be undone or they have already been undone. So we also need to suggest positive strategies to deal with such negative racist views in a healthy and academic manner. In other words, any critical discourse analysis project should not be based only on identifying various racist views embedded in a certain kind of discourse. Rather, it should also suggest way how to deal with such discourses in a healthy manner. What alternative courses can be generated in order to tackle such discourses.